So, how do I approach difficult situations in my relationship? By locating your balls and choosing to step into them, knowing that the world will not end. That if something really bad happens, like your relationship were to end, the other person will like, fuck this, you fucked that up, you're a loser, you're not good enough, you're a failure. Wow, that is something like the worst case scenario. You'll be okay. Alright, so here's a pretty simple one, okay? And it essentially says, how can I approach difficult situations in my relationship? Man, okay, so welcome to one of the more common answers that I'll give in my coaching program, and that is, it depends on a whole bunch of shit in there. How can I approach difficult situations in my relationship? So, look, the next answer is by approaching them. Step towards them. And you're probably going to notice all sorts of fear, all sorts of anxiety, all sorts of overthinking, worst case scenario, catastrophizing, all this kind of shit. Pay attention to that. Note it down and question it. Challenge it. Don't let it just sit there going, but I can't do the things because there's these things that I'm not sure about in the middle. They're right there. Look at them. Give them attention. Then you know what you're dealing with. So, how do I approach difficult situations in my relationship? By locating your balls and choosing to step into them, knowing that the world will not end. That if something really bad happens, like your relationship were to end, the other person will like, fuck this, you fucked that up, you're a loser, you're not good enough, you're a failure. Wow, that is something like the worst case scenario. You'll be okay. Just because someone says those things or whatever may be said, it doesn't make them true. So part of locating your balls and finding your courage is choosing to remind yourself, to convince yourself that you'll be okay if something bad happens. The next part that might help that is this. If you continue to avoid difficult situations, what are the costs? What are the consequences? And would you rather those or the risk of approaching them and stepping into those difficult situations? So these are the things that you actually get detail. Worst case scenario, best case scenario, all the details. Get them on the table, then you know what you're dealing with, right? But also asking questions and bringing people in who can be objective and not be so in the emotion of it and support you with it. So when I say look at your balls, what I really mean is choose to be courageous. You know what? Every time I step into a difficult situation, when I reflect back on it, it's usually nowhere near as bad as what I thought it might be. And usually there's a weight lifted off to me. At least I get information for next time. I can learn something, right? So you've got to remind yourself of these things so it becomes easier to step into them. So then the final piece on this is not only doing all of that, but start and continue. Find small, difficult things, both in your relationship and everywhere else in your world that you can step into. This is uncomfortable. This is challenging. This is an obstacle, and step towards it. As the Stoics would say, the obstacle is the way. If you build up the practice, think of it like the muscle of stepping into challenging and difficult situations, it will become so much easier in general. And then when it comes to things that are very emotionally involved, like your relationship, it also becomes easier. Easier, not necessarily easy. And so perhaps the final caveat, the bonus on that is, what's your expectations about how it should be amazing and easy? You should be awesome at it. If you're a beginner, if you don't do it, then you're going to suck at it. So you have to practice. Okay, so check your expectations on it and start doing it. And of course, if you need support, then enroll support. And that support might be with your partner. Hey, I'm really terrified about having this conversation with you, and I don't know how it's going to go. So what I'd like is to ask for your support. Can you promise to support me as I try and fumble my way through this? And hopefully I get better at it. You get to ask for support and you get to be supported too. All right? I hope that helps.